Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world obsessed with results. We celebrate the medal, the promotion, the final reveal, but goals are merely destinations. What truly determines whether we arrive there, or whether we get lost along the way, are the systems we build. A goal is a direction, a system is a path, and a path, walked daily, leads somewhere meaningful. If we want to build systems that actually help us achieve our goals, we must begin with why the goal matters in the first place. Not the superficial reason, the real one, because when the reason is strong, the routine becomes easier. Purpose gives discipline something to hold on to when enthusiasm disappears, but purpose alone is not enough. We need structure. A solid system starts with clarity. What will you do? When will you do it? Where will it happen? And what exactly triggers that action? The more specific the system, the less willpower it requires. It transforms desire into behavior. Imagine wanting to write a book. A goal, yes, but a system. A system is sitting at your desk every morning at 7 a.m., opening your laptop, writing 300 words, no more, no less. Every day, consistently, the system becomes a ritual. The ritual becomes a habit, and the habit becomes part of who you are. Systems are not built to impress. They are built to support. They hold us up when motivation wavers, as it always does. Motivation is emotional, systems are structural, and here's the powerful truth. We do not achieve goals because we dream bigger. We achieve goals because we design better environments, better routines, better accountability, better alignment with our values. When these elements work together, progress becomes not an occasional victory, but a natural outcome. So, if you truly want to achieve your goals, stop chasing the finish line. Start building the process, craft the steps, shape the behaviors, design the systems, because success is never a single moment. It is the sum of the systems we choose to live by every day. Purpose is the internal engine that sustains long-term commitment, and it serves as the foundation upon which effective systems are built. Goals, by themselves, create direction and aspiration, but they do not create the consistency required to reach the destination. Consistency comes from systems, and systems become sustainable only when they are rooted in a strong sense of purpose. When people set goals without first uncovering the deeper reason behind them, they rely heavily on motivation, an emotion that inevitably fluctuates. However, when a system is driven by purpose, discipline becomes less fragile because it is anchored in meaning rather than mood. Understanding purpose means looking beyond the surface level outcome. For example, someone might set a goal to get in shape, but the purpose behind it might be to feel more confident, have more energy for their family, or improve long-term health. When the purpose is clear, the system becomes more intentional. Choosing nutritious meals, scheduling workouts, setting sleep routines, and managing stress are no longer isolated tasks. They become expressions of a deeper commitment. Purpose transforms routine actions into meaningful actions, and that shift is what fuels consistency even on difficult days. A strong purpose also prevents systems from becoming mechanical or hollow. Systems are practical, but without meaning, they can feel restrictive or burdensome. When a person knows why they are doing something, the structure supports them rather than limits them. In this way, purpose acts as the emotional narrative that makes the system feel worthwhile. It gives context to the effort and reinforces identity. This is not just something I do, this is who I am becoming. Identity-based decisions are inherently more sustainable than outcome-based decisions. When systems reflect identity, consistency no longer feels like a chore, it becomes a natural extension of self. Purpose improves decision-making within the system. When the underlying reason is deeply understood, it becomes easier to evaluate whether certain habits or routines help or hinder the desired direction. Purpose becomes a filter. A clear purpose allows individuals to adjust systems effectively when circumstances change because the system's role is to serve the purpose, not the other way around. If the purpose is strong, the system can evolve without losing coherence. This adaptability strengthens long-term consistency because it removes the rigidity that often causes people to abandon their efforts when disruptions occur. Purpose-driven systems also strengthen resilience. Challenges, setbacks, and plateaus are inevitable in any long-term pursuit. Without purpose, these obstacles often lead to discouragement because the focus remains solely on the gap between where a person is and where they want to be. But when purpose is the anchor, setbacks are interpreted differently. They become part of the process rather than the end of it. This perspective shift encourages persistence. A person who connects their efforts to a meaningful purpose can endure temporary difficulties because the journey itself feels connected to something valuable. Additionally, a clear purpose ensures that goals are aligned with personal values rather than external expectations. Many people set goals based on social pressure, competition, or comparison. Systems built around such goals typically collapse because they lack authentic motivation. When the purpose aligns with personal values, the system becomes self-reinforcing. Each completed action provides internal satisfaction rather than just external validation. This intrinsic reinforcement is one of the strongest predictors of sustained behavioral change. Purpose also improves engagement with the process. Goals are future-oriented, but systems are present-oriented. The purpose bridges this gap by connecting present actions to future aspirations. Instead of waiting for the final outcome to feel accomplished, individuals experience progress every time they follow their system. This creates a continuous cycle of motivation fueled by action rather than anticipation. Over time, this strengthens consistency because progress is felt daily, not just at the finish line. Ultimately, purpose is what transforms systems from mere routines into powerful tools for personal growth. Without purpose, a system may function temporarily, but it cannot thrive long-term. With purpose, even the smallest actions gain meaning, and that meaning fuels the consistency necessary to turn goals into reality. Purpose drives consistency because it reminds us that success isn't achieved by aiming higher, but by building systems grounded in a reason strong enough to carry us through every step of the journey. Every long-term transformation begins with small, consistent behaviors. These minor, repeatable actions may look insignificant in isolation, but over time they accumulate into powerful shifts in identity, capability, and results. The human mind often overestimates the importance of dramatic changes while underestimating the compounding effect of small habits. Yet it is these small habits, formed daily, weekly, and routinely, that form the architecture of one's identity. Systems work because they focus attention on what you do consistently, not what you do occasionally. Identity is not something people find, it is something they build through repeated action. When a person reads every day, even for 10 minutes, they begin to see themselves as a reader. When someone shows up for short workouts consistently, they begin to identify as someone who takes care of their health. When a person writes a little each morning, they grow into the identity of a writer. Small actions repeatedly taken create evidence of who a person is becoming, and the brain uses this evidence to construct identity. In this sense, systems are not merely functional routines, but psychological reinforcement loops that shape self-perception. Systems rooted in small actions are effective because they lower resistance. Large actions often require large amounts of motivation, time, or emotional energy. Small steps, however, are manageable enough to be completed even on low-energy days. This reliability builds momentum. When the brain experiences consistent completion of small tasks, it creates a sense of progress. This feeling of progress is a powerful motivator, far more sustainable than the temporary excitement of setting a big goal. With systems built on small, repeatable actions, consistency becomes achievable regardless of external circumstances. These small actions also create stability. Goals can be distant and abstract, but systems make the journey concrete. Someone who wants to learn a new language might be overwhelmed by the idea of fluency. but practicing vocabulary for 5 minutes every day is simple, approachable, and repeatable. Over months, this tiny practice results in measurable improvement. The identity begins to shift from "I want to learn a language" to "I am learning a language." This identity shift increases commitment, which in turn strengthens the system. It becomes a reinforcing cycle where actions shape identity, and identity fuels further action. Another important aspect is that small, repeatable actions remove the emotional barriers that often slow progress. People frequently wait for the perfect moment to start something big, but systems encourage action regardless of mood, motivation, or ideal condition. By focusing on doing a little bit every day, individuals avoid the trap of all or nothing thinking. They learn that imperfect progress is far more valuable than postponed perfection. This mindset shift plays a significant role in identity formation as it promotes resilience and adaptability, qualities that are essential for long-term achievement. Small actions also make it easier to track and measure progress. Large goals can be vague or intimidating, but small habits offer clear feedback. When a person takes a small step every day, they accumulate tangible evidence of improvement. This evidence tells the brain, "I am capable, I am consistent." Over time, this belief becomes part of the individual's identity. The internal narrative shifts from doubt to confidence, from hesitation to self-trust. Identity becomes less about aspiration and more about lived experience. Systems built around small actions also neutralize the pressure associated with big goals. Instead of fearing failure or feeling overwhelmed by expectations, people focus on the present action. This reduces anxiety and increases engagement. It becomes easier to stay committed because the process feels achievable. As commitment grows, the identity becomes more stable, and the actions feel increasingly aligned with who the person believes themselves to be. Additionally, small repeatable actions teach the value of patience and compound growth. The influence of consistency multiplies over time in ways that are not immediately visible. Skills develop gradually, confidence grows steadily, and identity strengthens incrementally. This slow, steady compounding effect is one of the most powerful aspects of systems. It demonstrates that significant achievements are not the result of extraordinary moments, but of ordinary actions executed consistently. Ultimately, systems built on small, repeatable actions create a bridge between present behavior and future identity. They turn daily choices into long-term character. Instead of acting toward a goal only when inspiration strikes, systems ensure that each day contributes to the person you are becoming. These small actions become the quiet architects of transformation, shaping identity, building discipline, and moving individuals steadily toward the outcomes they desire. Clarity is the element that turns intention into execution. Without clarity, even the strongest motivation dissolves into vague effort, and vague effort rarely leads to meaningful progress. Systems thrive on specificity, knowing exactly what to do, when to do it, and how to measure whether it is working. When a system is clear, it removes the decision-making friction that often stalls action. The mind no longer debates what needs to happen, the structure answers that question automatically. This reduction in mental load is what allows consistent effort to accumulate into visible progress. Defined triggers are the first layer of clarity. A trigger is a signal that activates a specific behavior. It can be a time, a location, an event, or an existing habit. For example, setting a trigger like after I drink my morning coffee, I will study for 20 minutes ties the new behavior to something already familiar. Triggers reduce uncertainty and help automate action. They eliminate the need for willpower because the cue becomes a natural prompt for the routine. When triggers are consistent, the brain forms strong associations, making the behavior more automatic over time. Routines form the second layer of clarity. A routine is the specific sequence of actions performed after the trigger. The more detailed the routine, the easier it becomes to follow. Instead of saying, "I will work out more," A clear system defines at 6 p.m. I will put on my running shoes, walk to the gym, and complete a 30-minute workout. Specificity turns ambiguity into action. Routines that are clearly defined also reduce procrastination because the steps are already laid out. The individual doesn't have to improvise or rely on motivation to figure out what to do next. The system provides a roadmap. Clarity in routines also helps prevent emotional resistance. When people face something undefined, the brain perceives it as a threat or a burden. This perception creates hesitation. Clear routines remove the ambiguity that fuels resistance by offering a predictable pattern. Predictability builds comfort, and comfort reduces the psychological barriers to action. Over time, the routine becomes easier to follow because the brain has rehearsed it repeatedly, both mentally and physically. This familiarity increases confidence and decreases the effort required to begin. Measurable checkpoints form the third layer of clarity. These are the indicators that show whether the system is working. They provide feedback, direction, and accountability. Goals may define the desired outcome, but checkpoints clarify the path. For instance, someone building a system for financial savings might track weekly expenses or monthly savings amounts. A person working toward improving their physical health might monitor their sleep hours, daily step count, or strength progression. Measurable checkpoints offer objective data that keeps the system aligned with the intended result. Checkpoints also prevent drifting. Without measurement, people may believe they are making progress when they are actually remaining stagnant. Measurement brings reality into focus, ensuring that effort aligns with outcomes. The feedback gathered through checkpoints allows systems to evolve. If progress stalls, the system can be adjusted. If progress accelerates, the system can be strengthened. This adaptability ensures the system remains effective over time, even as circumstances change. Clarity also fosters accountability, both internal and external. When the actions and expectations are clear, it becomes easier to hold oneself responsible. Ambiguity, on the other hand, creates loopholes. Vague commitments like "I'll try to wake up earlier" offer too much room to negotiate with oneself. Clear commitments like "I will wake up at 6:30 a.m. every weekday" create standards that are trackable and specific. This specificity supports personal integrity by aligning daily choices with stated intentions. Another important aspect of clarity is that it simplifies prioritization. When a system is clear, it becomes obvious what matters and what does not. Individuals no longer waste time on unproductive activities disguised as busyness. Clarity helps distinguish meaningful action from noise. This focus ensures that energy is directed toward tasks that push progress forward rather than those that create the illusion of movement. Clarity also reduces stress. Unclear goals and undefined systems generate mental clutter. The mind becomes preoccupied with questions about what to do, how to start, and whether the effort is enough. A clear system eliminates these uncertainties. It provides structure and predictability, which helps the brain feel secure. This sense of structure improves emotional well-being and increases the likelihood of long-term consistency. Clarity enhances motivation. When progress is visible and actions are straightforward, motivation becomes self-generating. People feel encouraged when they know exactly what they are doing and see the results accumulating. Clarity turns effort into tangible progress, and tangible progress fuels continued action. Instead of relying on external inspiration, individuals begin relying on evidence of their own improvement. This evidence reinforces commitment and strengthens belief in the system. Clarity is the element that bridges the gap between effort and achievement. With defined triggers, structured routines, and measurable checkpoints, systems become reliable mechanisms for progress. They transform scattered energy into purposeful movement, ensuring that every action contributes to meaningful advancement. Alignment is the hidden force that powers sustainable progress. When the systems you create are aligned with what you genuinely care about, the effort required to maintain them decreases dramatically. Instead of pushing yourself through resistance, you move forward with a sense of internal harmony. Values provide direction, and systems provide structure. When these two elements work together, they create a flow in which discipline no longer feels like a fight against your own nature, but rather a natural expression of it. This is why alignment is not a luxury in system building, it is a necessity. Values act as an internal compass. They reflect what matters, what feels meaningful, and what contributes to your sense of purpose. When systems contradict these values, friction arises. This friction manifests as procrastination, burnout, or a sense of dissatisfaction even when you are technically doing the right things. But when systems support and embody your values, the actions within them feel rewarding. They become energizing rather than draining. This is the difference between forcing discipline and experiencing discipline as a side effect of clarity and authenticity. Alignment also increases emotional commitment. When you engage in routines that reflect your values, you develop a deeper relationship with your habits. For example, someone who values creativity will find it easier to maintain a writing or journaling routine because the action resonates with their internal motivations. Someone who values connection will naturally be drawn to systems that involve collaboration, communication, or shared experiences. The alignment makes the behavior feel like a genuine part of who they are. This emotional connection strengthens the system's durability even when challenges arise. When systems align with values, they reduce internal conflict. Many people struggle with discipline not because they lack willpower, but because they are trying to uphold systems that contradict who they truly are. A person who values freedom may resist rigid schedules, while someone who values structure may feel lost without defined routines. Recognizing personal values allows the system to be designed in a way that feels compatible rather than restrictive. This compatibility removes the resistance that often blocks consistent action. Alignment also enhances consistency because it reduces the need for constant motivation. Motivation becomes more stable when the activities feel meaningful. Instead of relying on external rewards or pressure, the individual relies on internal satisfaction. This is a more reliable source of energy. When actions reflect values, they provide intrinsic rewards, feelings of fulfillment, integrity, and alignment. This internal reward system strengthens long-term commitment in a way that external motivation cannot replicate. Another important aspect of alignment is identity reinforcement. Every action taken within an aligned system strengthens a sense of self that is consistent with personal values. Over time, this builds a powerful identity cycle. Values influence systems, systems shape actions, and actions reinforce identity. This cycle helps create momentum. The individual begins to see themselves as the kind of person who naturally behaves in these aligned ways. Discipline feels less like a task and more like a confirmation of identity. Alignment also influences decision-making. When values are clear and systems reflect those values, each decision becomes easier. Choices are no longer weighed against endless variables. They are evaluated against the compass of alignment. This clarity reduces mental fatigue and increases confidence. The system acts as a guide, helping prioritize what matters and eliminate distractions that do not contribute to meaningful progress. With fewer conflicting options, momentum becomes more stable. Additionally, aligned systems create a sense of harmony between short-term actions and long-term vision. Many people set goals that represent who they want to be in the future, but they design systems that reflect short-term desires or external expectations. This mismatch causes frustration because the daily actions do not support the desired identity. When systems match values, every small action becomes a step toward the long-term vision. This continuity between present behavior and future goals generates momentum by ensuring that each day feels purposeful. Alignment also improves resilience. Challenges are inevitable, but individuals are more likely to persist through setbacks when their actions are grounded in values. When a system reflects what truly matters, giving up becomes emotionally harder. The value-based connection creates a deeper reason to continue. Even when progress slows, the internal alignment keeps the individual anchored. They return to the system not because they feel obligated, but because the system feels like an expression of who they are. Aligned systems create a sense of ease, not because the work becomes effortless, but because the inner struggle disappears. Effort is still required, but the resistance is minimized. When discipline arises from alignment rather than force, momentum builds naturally. Each step reinforces the next. Over time, progress accelerates because the individual is no longer battling against themselves. They are moving with the flow of their own values, supported by a system designed to honor what matters most.